Okay, so I'm picking up from Judges chapter 18, and this is verse 14. Sorry, it's very early. Haven't had my breakfast yet, so a bit sleepy still. Yeah. Okay, Judges 18 and verse 14. Then the 5 men who had spied out the land of Laish said to their fellow Danites, "Do you know that one of these houses has an ephod, some household gods, and an image overlaid with silver? Now you know what to do." They sick they gave them the look. So they turned in there and went to the house of the young Levite at Micah's house and greeted him. "Hello." The 600 Danites, armed for battle, stood at the entrance of the gate. 600. The 5 men who had spied out the land went inside and took the idol, the ephod, and the household gods, while the priests and the 600 armed men stood at the entrance of the gate. When the 5 men went to Micah's house and took the idol, the ephod, and the household gods, the priest said to them, "What are you doing?" So let's stop here for a while, because it stops at the point whereby this priest is saying, "Hey, you're stealing my stuff." And I guess they can, because 600 guys. Imagine opening it all, 600 guys standing there saying, "Hello," and then you're going to take your stuff. Then all you can say is, "Hey, excuse me, this is probably not the right thing to do." So it's a bit scared, but it's also a bit angry because they are taking stuff from him. Yeah, verse 19. They answered him, "Be quiet, don't say a word, sao sang." But then they say, "Come with us and be our father and priest. Isn't it better that you serve a tribe and clan in Israel as priest rather than just one man's household?" The priest was very pleased. He took the ephod, the household gods, and the idol and went along with the people. Putting their little children, their livestock, and their possessions in front of them, they turned away and left. So verse 19 again, they said, "Hey, come with us." They recruited this priest to be their priest. And it says there he was very pleased. So in a way, it's no longer stealing, it's recruitment. They recruited this priest. They recruited these idols for themselves. Why? Because might is right. We are strong, so we can do this. What can you do to us? Also, I think it's not just that they're strong. We are right. It said, "Isn't it better?" And they said, "Isn't it better than you serve just one guy as priest? You serve a whole nation." Meaning, this is an upgrade. This is the right thing to do because this serves the needs of the many, not just the one guy called Micah. Yeah. Very interesting reasoning, right? Yeah, might is right. Verse 22. When they had gone some distance from Micah's house, the men who lived near Micah were called together and overtook the Danites. They went in front of them. As they shouted after them, the Danites turned and said to Micah, "Hey, what's the matter with you that you called out your men to fight? Hey, you want to takao, is it? You want to fight with us? You want to fight with me? I fight you back. What's your problem?" Verse 24, he replied, "You took the gods I made and my priests and went away. What else do I have? How can you ask what's the matter with you?" The Danites answered, "Don't argue with us." Whoa, very chilling, and some of the men might get angry and attack you and your family will lose your lives. So the Danites went their way, and Micah, seeing that they were too strong for him, turned around and went back home. Yeah, so quite poor thing as well, because they gone churi everything already. They took everything that he had. And even though he got all his friends, his matai, to try to get the stuff back, there's a sense of desperation in his voice. I think he knows that he cannot fight them. He says, "You took everything I have," verse 24. "Everything I have you've taken. How can you say what's wrong with me?" And there's something very pitiful but also pathetic in that. Because everything he has can be stolen. Essentially, his God can be taken away. His God is in the form of these idols. His God is in the form of this priest, this religious leader that can kind of like change sides. And that's very telling, right? Because sometimes we might not have an idol that we bow down to, but what is it that we are worried that we might lose one day? What is it that we are insecure about, in other words? That, one day I might lose all my money. One day the person that loves me might love someone else. And that kind of insecurity actually reveals worship. It reveals idolatry. We are treating that thing, that person, that commodity, not just as a person or a thing, but as God. And that's what Micah did. And that's what Micah lost as well. Okay, verse 27. Then they took what Micah had made and his priest and went on to Laish against the people at peace and secure. They attacked them with the sword and burned down their city. Oh no. Yeah, they just destroyed them and killed them. Yeah, there was no one to rescue them because they lived a long way from Sidon and had no relationship with anyone else. The city was in the valley near Beth Rehob. And so that's so bad, right? Because essentially they wanted to do this horrible thing. They wanted to kill these people. They wanted to steal this land. But before this, they stole these gods. And in other words, they wanted to do this bad thing. But then they justified this bad thing by saying that they have this good thing, this idol. And it's quite bad. It's quite bad. Essentially, it's like before you want to steal or rob a bank, you go and go to church. Before you want to kill someone, you go and pray in Bible study, that kind of thing. That means these are people who are desperately in search for authentication in their lives, for God's blessing in their lives over the evil that they want to do. Yeah, very, very worrying. Continuing on verse 28, the Danites rebuilt the city and settled there. They named it Dan after their ancestor Dan, who was born to Israel, though the city used to be called Laish. There the Danites set up for themselves the idol, and Jonathan, the son of Gershom, the son of Moses, and his sons were priests for the tribe of Dan until the time of the captivity of the land. They continued to use the idol Micah had made all the time the house of God was in Shiloh. And that's the end of the chapter. And this is a very kind of like mic drop moment because it ends with three things. Number one, they renamed the city Dan. Number two, they give us the name of this priest. And number three, they continue down this line of idolatry for a long time until the captivity. Essentially for hundreds of years, they continue on worshiping these idols. And the significance of this is, number one again, they essentially covered up their evil doing. They call it Dan. So they call this, this is my house, this is my land, and put a big sign there called Dan. But it says, even though this place used to be called Laish. In other words, they tried to cover up the atrocities and the evil that they did by calling it a certain other name. But number two, we also get the name of this priest. And this name of this priest is Jonathan, son of Gershom, son of Moses. 10 Commandments Moses, that greatest leader in all of Israel, Moses. But his grandson is now a false prophet. But his grandson is now an idolater. It's kind of like saying, the most faithful guy produced the most unfaithful grandson. And that's very, very shocking, right? But finally, it says that his sons, so the great-great-great-grandsons of all Moses, continued to be priests over Dan until the time of the captivity. And this captivity is talking about when Israel was taken captive hundreds of years later. This would be like many hundreds long. So that means for centuries on, they still worship this false idol. For centuries on, they still kind of like justify the evil that they did. And I think it shows how long-lasting one act of idolatry can be. Just compromise one time. You just kind of like do one evil thing just that one time and you cover it up. People can carry on doing it for hundreds and hundreds of years. That's very worrying, right? But yeah, that's why so depressing, so sad. But yeah, that's the story of Judges chapter 18. It's just from bad to worse to long-lasting idolatry. Yeah. Got someone outside. Very shy. Okay, I'll stop here. Okay, thanks for joining me. More to come. Still got 19 and chapter 20 and 21. So, see you next time. Bye.